Hey guys, and welcome back to another Book Review Friday, where every Friday I go over a book that I think is worth a deep dive, meaning the content is so good that it can help you either create more income, build true wealth, or upgrade a really important area of your life. And this week, we're talking about mind hacking, how to change your mind for good in 21 days by Sir John Hargrave. And this book is really solid because it takes a lot of like the weird metaphysical, fluffy, meditation and change your mind. And maybe you've seen or read The Secret. It takes all that and it puts science behind it. And it really gives you practical step-by-step ways that you can implement a lot of the theory that's out there. There's a lot of fluffy kind of self-help theory, but as you guys know, I like practical application. It's like, tell me why something is the way it is, tell me how my mind works, and then tell me how to change it, and don't fill it with a bunch of fluff. And I think this book does a really, really good job of that. So without further ado, let's jump right into the review. So the first thing that we look at on a book review before doing a deep dive is the main theme. We want to know what's the 30,000 foot overview of this book, and what's the main points that we want to get out of the book. The first thing is he kind of defines what mind hacking is and why it's so important. And he says that, mind hacking is about overcoming your mental limitations. So he likes to use a lot of examples of how the human brain works a lot like computer code. We have all of these mental loops. We have all of these programs that are kind of running on autopilot. And to kind of change the limitations and change the beliefs and ultimately change your life, you need to change the code. You need to get down to the nitty-gritty. And he also says to master your mind is to master your life. And if you think about it, that's true, because everything that we have is because of the thoughts that we have and the loops that we run. And he defines hacking as kind of a 3-step process. And this is true for business hacking, for growth hacking, for computer code hacking. What hacking really is on a fundamental level is first analyzing whatever you're looking at, saying, what is everything? Imagining what it could be, and then reprogramming it, reshaping it in a way that you want it to work. And that's how, computer programmers and hackers build amazing software programs or SaaS products. And that's also how psychologists and people that focus on the mind help to retrain or reprogram the way that we think about things. So the overarching kind of idea here is how to hack your mind, how to change your mind and overcome a lot of the mental limitations that might be running on autopilot that you're not aware about. And the first key takeaway is you are not your mind, okay? So a lot of people kind of go throughout their day on autopilot. They don't really think about what they're thinking about. They just kind of have thoughts and they go about their day on autopilot. And in the book, he uses a really good example of how you're kind of like a controller in Houston or wherever NASA's office is, controlling the Mars rover. So the Mars rover is your mind. It's on Mars. It's taking in all of this input. It's seeing, it's analyzing data, and your body, right? Touch, smell, what you hear, what you see. All of these get processed in your mind, and you are kind of like the controller. So if your mind is the rover, if your mind is the one out there actually experiencing all these things, you are the one that's actually analyzing all this and looking at it. And another way to look at it is your mind is kind of like the movie. Your mind is everything that's playing out, and you are the one that's actually watching that movie. So in like Buddhist meditation and a lot of like Eastern metaphysical kind of new age, sometimes hippie thought is, you want to remove yourself from your mind. And a lot of times that verbiage and that idea can be confusing for some, but it's actually really simple. On a very kind of basic level, you just want to think that your mind is playing movies all the time. It's playing movies about the past. It's playing movies about the future over and over. You're constantly worrying about the future and maybe regretting the past. But the reality is that the only thing that's real is right now, right? That's the only thing that's real. The future and the past are really just fantasies. They're movies that are playing in our mind. They don't actually exist. The only thing that exists is this present moment. And he talks about how it's so important to remove yourself from the movies, to watch the movies. And he calls it meta thinking, where you think about how you're thinking. And the idea is really to look at what your mind is thinking about without getting caught up in the movie, kind of looking at your mind from a third person perspective, stepping outside of yourself and analyzing the way you think. And I think this is a really good exercise for traders, for investors, for entrepreneurs to step back and say, how am I thinking? Am I emotional right now? Am I greedy? Am I fearful? And if you can objectively kind of think about how you're thinking, it's going to allow you to remove a lot of the emotion and kind of break through some barriers that might be holding you down. So really, you just want to become aware of your mind, okay? And he uses this great example about how our minds are like dogs that are chasing squirrels. We're going about our day and then squirrel, or going about our day and then, oh my God, another dog, and our minds are constantly being bombarded with input and with these automatic programs that are kind of running on a subconscious level that we don't think about. And he says the good news is that we can retrain, we can reprogram the way that our minds work on autopilot. And if you're somebody who has like ADD or you can't focus for a long time, he talks about the fact that you can fix that. You can retrain and gain better concentration. And that's actually key takeaway number 2, which is you can retrain your mind. Think of your attention and your time as the most valuable assets. And I've talked about this. This is one of my main philosophies in life, is that time is our most valuable asset. It's the only thing that's always depleting. You can never buy more of it except for, investing in your health, but you can't guarantee that you can purchase more time. It's always depleting. It's the most valuable asset. And kind of another way to think of that is attention, right? Attention is extremely valuable because that's what you're thinking about. And you really want to focus your attention on things that will serve your life, not things that are just kind of automatic distractions. And he talks about the 2 types of attention. We have what's called top-down attention, which is where you choose to direct your attention. So if you're reading a book, you are choosing to direct your attention to this book. Bottom-up attention is like random interruptions. It's like things that, you're focused on something and then bing, squirrel, right? So the idea is and the goal is to strengthen your ability to concentrate. So that's top-down approach. You want to strengthen the ability to be able to maybe read a book without getting distracted, and weaken the reflexive attention or the distractions or the bottom up. So if you've ever been reading a book and you're reading and then all of a sudden you go, wait a minute, I just read this whole page and I don't remember a damn thing. That's because your concentration muscle might be a little weak in that moment. And he says how important it is to reclaim your attention, to get rid of distractions, and to retrain your concentration through mind games. So when it comes to reclaiming your attention, he talks about the importance of, turning off like notifications. If you're on Skype or if you're on some kind of messenger throughout the day, turn off the notifications when you're trying to concentrate or focus on something. Get off of Facebook, turn off your email, turn off the damn news, and reclaim, and refocus your attention and practice concentrating on certain things for periods of time. All right, so what meditation is, if you get rid of all the dogma and all the metaphysical BS, meditation is, on a very simple level, an exercise to control your mind, to exercise the muscle of concentration. And in the book, he talks about a lot of the benefits that you get from meditation. It makes you happier. It makes you healthier. It guards against depression and anxiety. And it just gives you the ability to be more productive. And in the book, he has some really good game examples, different things that you can do to help you meditate. And I think this is, one of the best explanations of what meditation actually is and how to do it. I remember whenever I first heard of meditation, I thought it was some religious thing where you were trying to find Buddha. And then I learned, no, it's actually more about, going within and healing the breath and all this stuff. And it never really made sense until I read this book, which what it really explained was that this is just an exercise where you are controlling your concentration. And there's different games, like the golden breath, where you focus on the breath and its healing properties. Alien blaster, like if you're sitting there and trying to have an empty mind where you're just concentrating on your breath, and then you have, oh man, I got to pay that bill. Oh man, I got to pay that person, or I got to call that person or do X, Y, and Z. Then what happens is, you blast those aliens, right? And you move on. So there's all these different kind of fun little exercises that he gives that I think gives us Westerners just an easier way to think about meditation. And then the third nipple, where he says, concentrate in the middle of your chest like you have a third nipple. So I thought that was pretty funny. That leads us to key takeaway number 3, which is you can reprogram your mental loops. And this is probably my favorite part of the book, where he talks about how to do that, how to reprogram everything that's running on autopilot, and how to get yourself thinking in a positive way that's going to affect your life and really get rid of anything negative that's causing you pain. And we'll start by just saying this. Our minds are programmed with mental loops, which are a mental loop is just thought habits. It's thoughts that run on autopilot that have become habitual. And loops can either be positive or negative. And for example, addiction is a loop. Addiction is nothing more than thought processes that run over and over and over again. And this is, I think, just a really powerful way to look at how powerful loops really are, because they control everything. Loops create your thoughts, and your thoughts create your actions, and your actions create your life, right? So your loops become your thoughts. Your thoughts are what you do. It's your actions, and the sum of all of your actions, that's your life. So therefore, the quality of your loops determines the quality of your life, right? And if you fix your loops, you fix your life. If you fix the things that are automatically running, you fix the end result, the big picture, which is ultimately your life, right? So here's kind of a couple steps. Step 1 to reprogram all of these loops is you want to discover bad loops. You want to say, what are the loops that aren't serving me? What are addiction loops? What are negative thinking loops? You want to find all those. And he gives, again, I love all the examples and the exercises in here. He gives examples and exercises of how to find these loops. Okay, he has this thing called the 5 whys, where you analyze a negative thought or a negative action, and you ask why until you get to the fundamental root problem. Also, the worst case scenario and third person perspective. These are just really good ways to find the root cause of negative, bad loops in your life. And then step 2 is you just reprogram those negative loops into good loops. It's very simple, actually. And to rebuild your mind, you need a clear vision of what you want. So a lot of people, they'll say things like, man, I just want more money, or I'm tired of being broke, or, I'm not happy in my relationships, or I'm not happy with my body. Whatever it is, you have to come up with a vision of what you want. And I've talked about this before, where you have to figure out where you are now and where you want to go. And what that does is it gives you a very tangible kind of A to B point, right? Where you start here and you end there. And he talks about the importance of using imagination to create new mental loops. And I really just want to take a minute here to talk about the importance of imagination and just emphasize that this is not fluffy bullshit thinking. This is real. Your imagination is reality. And I want to just kind of tell you a story. So when I was in my early 20s, when I quit corporate America, left a good job, had the great house, the prestigious title, had a staff working for me, was making great money, thought I was living the dream, and then figured out, no, this is not what I want. I don't want the corporate world. I quit. It took a tremendous amount of imagination for me to believe that I could become a successful entrepreneur on my own. And again, this is not magical thinking. This is not the secret where you sit back and you just think of $1 million into existence. What this does, what this process of imagination can do for you, is it gets you believing that you can achieve certain things and sets your mind up to where you can take action that will get you to where you want to go. So it all starts in the mind, and then it's the actions that follow that actually get it. So if you just sit there and think positive or negative thoughts, nothing's going to happen. What's going to happen is if you reprogram those positive thoughts into exactly what you want out of life, and then you take action to do it, that's how you achieve those things. And so for me, it was, I want to travel the world. And I had a vision board, okay? For me, it was never really about, the materialistic things. Like I really don't care about having a $100 million yacht. Ferraris, Lambos, take it or leave it. I don't know. I just want to travel. I'm like an adventure junkie, right? That's my thing. To each his own, right? But on my vision board, I had pictures of Thailand, and I had a world map, and I put pins on everywhere I wanted to go, all the things I wanted to see, all the adventures I wanted to do. Like I wanted to scuba dive in between the tectonic plates in Iceland. I was able to do that. I wanted to go hike and trek through the Himalayas. I did that. Wanted to scuba dive in the best locations around the world. So it took a tremendous amount of faith and reprogramming and imagination on my part for me to be able to believe that I could make that a reality. Had I not done that mental work first, I wouldn't have taken the actions to achieve it. So I think that's just a really, really important point. It starts in your mind, and if you don't do that, you're not going to get the vision that you want. And if you don't ever even decide what your vision is, you're just going to go through life on autopilot, and that's a really sad way to live. So here you go. Develop a clear mental picture first. What do you want, okay? And he gives, again, more examples, more exercises to create visualizations for 5 things. How you want to feel, what you want to do, what you want to have, what you want to give and contribute, and who you want to be. Those are like the 5 things that kind of encompass what your life is, right? How you feel, what you do, what you have, what you give and contribute, and who you are, right? That's your life. So why not take some time to think about what you want those things to look like, right? It's amazing how much time people spend on bullshit, how much time people spend gossiping or negativity or, talking about politics that really don't matter at the end of the day. And then they invest 0 time on thinking about how they want their life to look, maybe because they feel guilty that they don't deserve it, or maybe they think it's just fluffy BS. Maybe it's just, hippie stuff. It doesn't matter what you want out of life. All that matters is that you actually develop a clear mental model. What do you want? Start there. And if you've never thought about it, right when this episode is over, do that. All right? That's your homework. Figure out what you want to feel, what you want to do, what you want to have, what do you want to give, and who you want to be. Okay? So some final thoughts on this. The mind is a noisy place, right? The world is a noisy place. There are so many distractions. There's so much negativity in the world. You need to reprogram and cultivate focus, okay? You can cultivate focus and be aware of your programming through practice, right? So through meditation, through the games and the exercises that he set up in the book, you can retrain and refocus your brain to your muscle of concentration and then visualize what you want out of life. And you can examine your thinking. You can think about how you think And the things that cause pain and difficulty, okay, think about the things that are causing all the negativity in your life and then debug that, hack it, reprogram it, change the negative loops into positive loops. And if you start there, doesn't matter what business you're in, doesn't matter, how much money you have right now, or ultimately what you want out of life, if you first decide what it is and then reprogram those mental loops, that's where it starts, right? If you get that wrong, life's going to be much, much harder for you. So again, this book is a great example of a book that's worth a deep dive. Hopefully you got the main points out of this. You got the key components. You got the overall theme, and maybe some action items that you can take away and actually apply in your life. And step one should be to get the book, learn the exercises, and take action on it. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel, subscribe to the iTunes show, and share this with anybody that you think would benefit from the show, guys. My goal and my mission in life is to help 100,000 people achieve true wealth, right? And the ways to do that, and the three components of the different episodes in the show, are to create more income, build more wealth, which includes time freedom, and it starts here in the mind, and then upgrade the different areas of your life. So again, reach out. Let me know if you have any questions. Let me know what you thought of this episode, what episodes you want to see in the future. And I look forward to talking to you soon. Take care.